All right, I'll call to order the Mount Desert Planning Board meeting for April 23rd, 2025. Welcome aboard. I'll start off with the introductions. I'm William Hanlon, the Planning Board Chair. We have Vice Chair Tracy Loftus Keller and regular member Alan Kimmerly. I don't see anybody on Zoom yet, but I think tonight the quorum will be us three. So as Gail is out and Dalton is out and our alternate member Daniel Burke is out as well. So here we are. All right, so let's get into it. So item number 2 tonight on the agenda, we have approval of minutes, and we have minutes from April 9th.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting.
I'll second that.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
There you go. All right, item 3 on the agenda tonight. So we are here to review and discuss the Town of Mount Desert's Housing Assistance Community Development Block Grant application for compliance with the town's most recent comprehensive plan and town's land use zoning ordinance. And we're here to vote to authorize the planning board chair to sign a letter stating that the project conforms to the comp plan and the town's land use zoning ordinance. And I guess I'll first ask if there's any conflict of interest on the board.
Nope.
I should point out that I am an abutter to the Maple Lane Apartments, and I would guess first ask the applicant if they consider that to be any kind of conflict.
And I do not.
Mhm. Okay, and then how about you guys? I think that's
It's
Nope.
all right.
that's our architecture office, the property bought somewhere at 10 Neighborhood Road. So do I need to have a finding on that, a vote, a motion?
I would, just to be safe.
Can I do that if I'm
Well,
not?
you can't,
I
'cause you
can't.
can't vote on yourself.
So just for the record, Tracy Loftus Keller doesn't consider that to be a conflict of interest.
Correct.
And Alan Kimmerly does not consider me being in a butter to be a conflict of interest.
Correct.
Right. Then we're gonna soldier on. All right. So let's first ask if this one was advertised.
Yes, it was advertised in the Ellsworth American and Mount Desert Islander on Thursday, April 10th, 2025.
Okay, and we didn't notify abutters. All right, we just advertised it. All right. But then I'm gonna turn it over to the applicant because this is a first for us. So why don't you summarize for us why you guys are here tonight, and we'll take it from there.
Is it good just to stay here?
You can stand, talk to the owl,
Speak up.
speak up, project.
The owl.
I'm Matt Williams from the Mustang Group, and then
I'm Weston Bram. I'm the executive director for the Mount Desert Island Ellsworth Housing Authorities, which oversees Maple Lane and Mount Desert Housing Authority.
so the town is working with the Housing Authority on a community development block grant application. For the Maple Lane apartments to install fire safety upgrades. So the project has been accepted, but there's certain phases to the project. We're in phase 2 now. Which involves a requirement to come before the planning board, asking for a review of the project to make sure it aligns with the most recently approved comp plan, and then follows the relevant portions of the ordinance. And so that's why we're here tonight. It's not a project that would typically come before you guys. If somebody was installing fire safety upgrades, it would just go through the code office. But part of the grant requirements is that the planning board actually reviews it.
I will add, the reason probably would be that the money is passing through the municipality to Mount Desert Authority.
Mhm.
So you are,
It would be required regardless.
yeah, in checks and balances. Oh, what?
Yeah.
That was more than.
It's just the federal grant requires, I mean, a lot of these projects are like actual like construction projects and like are bigger, so like. It is a project that would have come before planning board, but in this case, it just so happens it's not.
Mhm.
Projects, but the money's from HUD, which is the housing department, so.
The town's just a gateway for the grant.
Correct, so for
Yeah.
community development block grants, you have to be a municipality to apply, but it's very common for municipalities to serve as like a partner, pass-through agent for the funds
Mhm.
for a nonprofit.
Got it.
And so, just a quick summary of the project is that for fire safety upgrades in the Maple Lane apartments, which includes installation of a sprinkler system and upgrading certain walls within the interior of the building to fire rated walls, where there's a separation between the community gathering space and the residential room. I'm doing that on that.
Yeah, that was the doors was something that was discovered during the process estimation of most of them. Was discovered that while the doors currently are in compliance, they lack the label that would otherwise give them a pass through review. And so we're adding the 30-minute closure, spring mechanisms to the doors as a way to that would be really the only piece. I mean, the building lacks a sprinkler system, has a modern fire alarm system. It is stick-built building. So if it was to catch on fire, that's the main concern, that it's stick-built. So we potentially lose the entire building. And with the system that's being presented, we're looking at a 13 part system throughout the units, and then a 13 whole system within the community area, shared spacing.
Yeah.
That's all I have to add.
Thank you. So yeah, so essentially the project is to bring a grandfathered structure into fire compliance, for really just the safety of the residents and to improve quality of the housing there. The Maple Lane Apartments is the only housing authority affordable housing project in the place, so we provide high quality housing for the residents.
I would add, big factor when a decision was made to go after funding for this was also the emergency response folks. Given, what you're seeing with the lack of volunteerism and some of the issues, faced by the fire departments, this certainly helps us.
Did this get triggered by something that happened or just because the building's been there for a long time, or the funding was?
So, this is a project that I inherited from my predecessor, Dwayne Bartlett, and Dwayne had worked with, a consultant, a capital consultant, who's been working with the agency for 35 years. And it's kind of almost like a thing that's happening in the affordable housing realm right now, public housing buildings, all throughout New England. To get them up to current code with sprinkler systems, because most of them were built in the early 70s, pre-sprinkler system, so there's funding out there to make it happen. And in addition to that, we did have a small fire over in Southwest Harbor at Ridge Apartments. Ridge Apartments has basically the same construction as Maple Lane. They did get lucky with the fire that happened there. What it was is a generator failed outside and caught that exterior of the building on fire, and they were able to get it out, but it was a little bit of a wake-up call, it seems. And so both Maple Lane and Ridge applied for funding to have sprinkler systems installed, and both were awarded. There are different phases now of this process.
Okay, good,
Interesting.
thank you.
And so as was kind of stated in the agenda item about the planning board is to review, compliance with the comprehensive plan and then compliance with the ordinances. The 2 points that Weston and I just kind of run over really tie into the comprehensive plan from 2009. There's in your packet, there's a excerpt from that page talking specifically about the fire department's resources. There were a couple more pages just talking about how it's at that there was the history, but there was a one staff person on who was the chief, and then everybody else was a volunteer from the fire department. And so it was difficult to man fire emergency services regularly. And In addition, they were also looking to just expand capital of like, the 2009 plan, sources for that. And then in addition, it does call out Maple Lane Apartments as, again, affordable, attainable housing within, the desert, which even back in 2009 was hard to find for year-round residents. So that's the alignment with the comp plan, is improving, what the city had already considered an asset within the comp plan, and also supporting city services that they felt were overburdened already. And then the portions of the ordinance that I found as I went through, looking at the Luso, was that there, this is really the only part of the project that leaves the building, the interior of the building, is the opening of the road to expand the water pipe to allow the sprinkler to run into the building. And so they're adding a water line from outside of the building into it, and that's really the main construction piece that happens outside. So I looked at town services, will there be an impact? The answer is yes, but like not, it will not unduly burden the capacity of the town's facilities, including public water. We have an email correspondence with Paul Slack from the water district discussing the project. He does note that before I even reached out, he had been talking to the housing authority about the project and had approved of it at this point. There's no regular increase in terms of service, but if there's a fire, your sprinkler system will draw on. And then there will be more water use at that Maple Lanes than there would have been if there were no sprinkler. But other than that, the water system in that area has the capability to handle the upgrades. And then I think it's later on, I talk about the roads, but we'll talk about the roads now. The only time from that will be affected by the project is when they are again laying that pipe into the ground. There will be a road opening. The contractor will use standard practices like flagging to make sure that traffic can move freely, safely through that project area at that time. Or they may reroute traffic, but it will not cause like traffic on a regular basis. It will be a short time frame while that work is being completed. And finally, from all construction projects, really dust fumes, vapors, odors, and gases, dust in particular. I just mentioned that, a licensed contractor will be used for the work. They will use best management practices to control dust that may be created during the work outside. And then, for work being done out, and for indoors, they'll also control the dust that's created indoors using different methods. But it's pretty standard for indoor construction to just prevent dust from going. This isn't a particularly unique project.
It is, I mean, it was gonna ask him for the record, in terms of the compliance, the board's determination of compliance with the land use zoning ordinance. I mean, we're not really doing a section 6 checklist, are we? No. So we're just kind of looking at, there's a couple things itemized in the letter to the board, but we're generally looking at that. And then just seeing how it relates to the comp plan. And they talk about that in their cover letter. And I see we've got somebody on Zoom, and I'd invite any public comment if there's any public comment out there to be had. Oh, unmute, you're on mute.
Forgive me, I just tuned in, but it's a pleasure to be part of the group.
Oh, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
You do have any public comment about this current application? Feel free, now's the time.
Not now, thank you. I don't know enough about it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, well, I'm gonna close public comment then, as there's only one member of the public here. And this one's a new one. This is new territory. I've never, in over 10 years on the board, I've never seen anything like this. And so we're not going through the section 6 conditional use approval application checklist. We're really just generally here to discuss its compliance with the comp plan and Luso. We've got some items outlined in the applicant, in their application from this, and I guess maybe first we would have a finding that the application is
You're not
complete.
reviewing it
We're not
like a
reviewing it.
conditional use.
We don't, it doesn't, there's no benchmark here to determine
No.
if it's complete or not. So, all right, well then we're just discussing it.
Right,
Alan, Tracy, thoughts?
Well, I think it's very good that it's being upgraded and installed, and it's gonna make the residents in that building safer as well as the surrounding neighborhood. So in that aspect, I think it's a fantastic project. It seems to comply with the health, welfare, and longevity of the town, safety of the town. So I think,
I saw on one of the drawings that there's like double drywall up. Is that something that's been gonna happen, or is that already that way?
The 1 hour fire rating,
Yes.
yeah. You guys are improving fire rated walls on the
Yeah,
interior?
So there's, I think the one picture, I think, in the group plan I'm thinking of, but yeah, it's the,
Specific areas and I think it's the hallway spaces, correct, and yeah, basically.
from the living from that.
That they keep
common
from the fire spreading into common areas and then and vice versa.
Hmm.
That is part of the project, be implemented.
right now, those walls.
So all the residents are gonna have to leave,
No, no,
No,
this is no displacement.
but if you put in more drywall,
I believe it's all in the common areas.
just the common area, this is what I was seeing. Where I was, double sheets of drywall going on here.
Yeah, that's the design of the orange outline is where they'll be going within the building. So it's mostly along the hallways here.
so each quadrant then gets sectioned off.
The narrative states, construct new fire rated assemblies at walls and doorways between the community room and residential areas and install new automatic closing hinges on all interior unit entry doors. Create required 30-minute fire rating on the doors. So it's really just to create from the outside of the apartment.
Make the hallway safe.
Correct. Keep a fire from spreading from a unit out and keep a fire from communal areas going in.
Out of idle curiosity, now, is this a smoke free?
It is, yes.
So that's good.
Now, does everybody comply with it? We try. A smoke shack was installed at the property. Not sure how long ago. I would probably give it 5 years at least from what the condition is of the structure, but. It's technically 25 feet from the building, federal law, you're not allowed to smoke on the property. And I know I enforce it when I go down there, I find somebody smoking at the doorway, I'm like, go over there, what are you doing? No, so,
Let's just tell them to quit.
yeah.
I just a curiosity where we don't have like any kind of formal checklist to ask you guys questions about this, but it just, it was it's kind of a curious thing we're doing here where we have federal money and it's passing through the town as a gateway onto a 501(c)(3) to improve housing that the town desperately needs. And we have, and then we're reaching out to Senator Collins and beyond, and yet we're hiring out-of-state companies to do the work.
The New Hampshire consultant, yeah, that's the capital consultant I inherited. Curious by that too, a little bit, but he's worked for the agency for over 35 years. I've made it one of my initiatives to pull in a lot of the work that he was doing for the housing authority.
Yeah,
And we've been quite successful with that. Yeah, there's a whole process related to that, but it's
I'm sure there is.
certainly, it's something I noted as well. And it's quite possible that there is no one within the proximity to our area who has the experience related to housing authority programming. It could be
Mhm.
that simple. However, I have worked with engineers and architects
Yeah,
and oftentimes defers to the executive director to have that understanding and then direct the engineer who's
Mhm.
involved, so.
yeah, I think of just like the soup to nuts trail there, this process travels that I think might have looked better, but
Well, make it more interesting, the
Mhm.
funding starts with the federal government, goes to the state,
Mhm.
right? And then goes from the state to the municipality.
Of course it
That
does.
does not.
And then to the nonprofit.
Got it.
That is a quasi-governmental entity, not a 501c3 either.
Even better.
Ah,
So no, I was just curious about the pathway that travels, so.
I think an interesting thing for me to interject in here is, one of the things I noted when starting my rule was that the property, we have a waiting list for the property, and
Mhm.
so. The waiting list fluctuates between 6 to 10 people on the waiting list, which is pretty good, because you don't have a lot of turnover at the
Mhm.
property. It's only 18 single one-bedroom units. There's currently a couple living there, so right now there's 19 residents. And my predecessors had implemented a resident preference for those who reside in Hancock County. I identified a opportunity and regulation to fine tune that and prioritize municipal residents above county residents. So
Mhm.
any municipal resident now will score higher than a county resident and will be prioritized for housing,
Mhm.
regardless of when they submit an application. They
Mhm.
could end up right at the top of the list. I look at the housing authority as a tool, it's a resource that was created by this municipality to serve its residents. Historically, it has done so, and then also it has an obligation to be filled for occupancy, so it's pulling people from other communities as well. With what I've implemented, at least it's now positioned first and foremost to serve this community's need for housing.
Mhm. Well, watching the daily comings and goings there, I can definitely say it's well traveled and stitched into the fabric of the village.
Mhm.
Any further comments, questions, thoughts?
I could make a motion if you want.
I think you could make a motion, Alan.
Go
I think that motion might even be raised partially on the agenda.
That's what I was gonna do. I make a motion to vote to authorize the planning board chair to sign a letter stating that the project conforms with a comprehensive plan and the town's land use zoning ordinance.
I'll second that.
Right, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, I guess I've got a letter to sign, so.
Thank you.
Thank you for your support.
I have a draft of the letter, but I didn't know if there was letterhead, I didn't either put it on or not.
Maybe I can live there sometime. I'm old.
Yeah, I'm
You
up there.
know,
Take off.
I see all the activity next door and I think, who knows?
Would I be able to add garages onto my flat?
I don't know, I don't know if we have any available land there that is. I can give you your plans back if you guys want plans or applications.
Want me to keep them? Yeah.
Yeah.
Big sad, I can't.
You want a big.
So I want to- Okay, let me have your.
I can, okay, you got that?
But yes, you gave me one, thank you. No,
Yeah.
Well, thank you all for your support.
Yeah, thank you.
I feel almost obligated to stay for the rest of the meeting, but.
Well, you can stay for adjournment if you want.
Is that where you're at?
Yeah.
You know, we've got,
Oh, here's one of
So
them.
I have, wait,
Dude.
on the other.
yeah, dude, so item 4 other, do we have any
The
other?
only
other?
other is if you gentlemen haven't done your comprehensive plan, you're encouraged to do.
I have.
Mhm.
it.
I have not, no.
Mhm.
Very good. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Alan, any other?
Not that I know.
All right. Well, you know what that brings us to? Item 5, adjournment.
I would make a motion to adjourn.
Second,
Right.
Wow.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
So there you go.
It's a record breaker.
Yeah,
Mhm.
less than 30
about that?
minutes.